This is one of the greatest ideas of the 20th century, a simple piece of paper that sticks. But what if I want to stick an idea up here, and not in my brain, but in yours? Every day, good ideas are lost, swept away down the river of information. Not because there's anything wrong with them, but because they are presented in a way that is forgettable. Good news is, Post-it notes for the brain do exist, all thanks to science. As a public speaking coach, it's my mission to show people how to use them. I call it being presentific, using science to make our ideas stick. And today, I'm going to show you 3 Post-it notes for the brain that you can use in your presentations. I'll show you how to use them and what can happen if you don't. I started my coaching business back in 2019, and I will never forget my first big coaching client. He was an engineer with a business idea, and he hired me to help him create a 20-minute pitch to present to investors. In our first session, he gave me the long version of his talk. It was packed with tiny text, no real structure, and lots of data, kind of like this. It was a hot mess. In my feedback, I listed everything that he needed to do to transform his 60-minute hot mess into a 20-minute success. The next day, I get a phone call from his assistant. I'm expecting she's going to tell me how amazing the session was and to book the next one. That's not what happens. She said, "I'm so sorry, Alex, but we decided to go a different way, and we're not going to need any more sessions." So I was fired, but the worst part was I had no idea why. Fast forward a few years, I start discovering these Post-it notes for the brain, including the research by social psychologist Roy Baumeister. Did you know that negative ideas stick in your brain better than positive ones? It's the reason why one nasty comment in your Instagram reel sticks with you and 20 compliments don't. Baumeister called it negativity bias. I call it gloomy glue. And just like real glue, it can stick for us or it can stick against us. When I went back into my feedback in 2019 for the engineer, I found it was all written like this. You speak too fast. You move too much. You're not looking in the eyes enough. It's good feedback. It's honest feedback, but it's presented in a way that would make the Terminator feel bad. I needed to use gloomy glue to work for me. This is working against me. Let me show you how to use it to work for you. It starts by sticking the pain in their brain. Now, I know this sounds terrible, but you are not the cause of the pain. You are simply reminding them of a pain that they already have. And then step 2, you offer them the painkiller. That's your solution. What I should have done in 2019 was this. I should have told the client, investors won't invest in your idea if they don't fully understand it. So that's why it's important to speak slowly so the investors don't miss a thing. In your next presentation, if you have a suggestion, don't say, we should do this. Stick the pain in the audience's brain and then give them the painkiller. That's how gloomy glue can work for you. And that is our first Post-it note today. Our second comes from the world of sports. In 2012, 400 supporters of the Athletic Bilbao Football Club arrive in Budapest. They're here to watch their team play Madrid in the final match of the Europa League Championship. There's only one problem. The match isn't in Budapest, it's in Bucharest, Romania. 400 people are in the wrong city, in the wrong country. How does that happen? Well, we don't know the details for sure, but we know two things. Number one, the organizers did not bring their A game. And two, when they communicated the location of the match, they did so in a place that was forgettable. Way back in 1885, a psychologist by the name of Herman Ebbinghaus did research on our memory. Did you know that our memory has two sweet spots? Two windows of opportunity where it's on its A game. It's the beginning of an experience and the end of an experience. In a presentation, it's the opening and the closing. In your next presentation, spend a little bit more time on how you introduce your topic and how you finish, because science says this is what your audience is going to remember. And if you have some key information that you need the audience to remember, like the location of the big football match, mention it in the intro and the conclusion, and for maximum stickiness, both. This is our second post-it. Science calls it primacy and recency effect. I call it opening and closing windows. So whatever happened to the 400 Bilbao supporters that were stuck in Budapest? Well, by the time they realized their mistake, it's too late. They're stuck in Budapest, and they watch the big game from a pub. It's a match I'm sure that they will always remember, but it's one that they would love to forget because the final score was 3-0 for Madrid. But 400 football fans stuck in the wrong city is not the end of the world. But sometimes, when information doesn't stick, the result can be a disaster. In 1986, NASA launched the Challenger space shuttle. 73 seconds after liftoff, it exploded, killing all 7 astronauts on board. It was a tragedy that should never have happened. The investigation found that the problem was with a rubber seal that failed due to cold weather on the day of the launch. But here's the thing. Scientists knew that those rubber seals didn't work in the cold, and they told NASA about it. But still, on January 28th, at a temperature of 2 degrees Celsius, they launched the shuttle. How could that have happened? John Sweller's research tells us what happened. Did you know that when information enters our brain, it first goes into our working memory, where it's processed and sorted? And if we give that part of our brain too much information too quickly, or that information is really complex, we can exhaust that part of our brain. And when that happens, it shuts off. And no new information can enter, no matter how important it is. Sweller called it cognitive load theory. I call it working brain drain. It's true, the scientists, they did present the data about that cold weather testing that they did, but they presented it like this. And before they presented this test, they presented another one similar to it, and before that, another one, and another one. The danger was buried in the numbers. In your next presentation, if you have to show data, be very careful. Because as soon as you start showing numbers like this, the clock starts ticking, and the working memory of your audience starts to do this. If you have to show numbers, spotlight the ones that really matter, tell us why, and tell us what we should do about it. That way, your audience will not miss a thing. The Post-it note is one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century. But to stick ideas up here, we need to bring science into the chat and get presentific in how we communicate. Remember, Gloomy Glue. Stick the pain in their brain and give them the painkiller. There's two sweet spots in our memory, the opening and the closing. Use them. And finally, cognitive load theory, working brain drain. Even the smartest people in the world can get overloaded, so keep it simple. Here you have 3 Post-its for the brain. They'll do more than just make your ideas stick and save your ideas from going down the river of information. They'll help you be on your A game and help you transform your presentations from less of a hot mess and more into a big success. And maybe 50 years from now, someone will step on stage and stand in the middle of a big red dot and tell the world one of the greatest ideas of the 21st century is yours.